With a message for my people.
Nick Dad, baby. We the new label.
Now this the black sheep, sticking it to him. I need a crib like I'm Gatsby.
I need it.
In hand, just understand my
Pockets that deep.
with nothing to prove. I ain't got nothing to do. When they can't compete and I got nothing to lose. You see, they told me I'm the one that's gonna benefit. Never been
Back in the building like we never left. Veterans Minimum, the #1 sports betting vibe on the internet. The 168th ranked sports and recreation podcast on Spotify.
How did you find that?
Someone sent it to me.
I feel like being in this podcast space, get emails like this like weekly from all the different shows I produce. Like, oh, you're 42 in health and fitness in Belgium, you know? So I don't know where they get these numbers.
I don't, but I like it.
I think we're definitely higher than that, though.
Gotta be.
Way higher than that.
#1 sports betting vibe on the internet. Like I said, we're back. George to my left.
Yes.
George has not met our guest, our guest of the hour. Hasn't met him yet.
Nope.
But I would say if the Spider-Man meme,
Mm-hmm.
shout out Spider-Man as we're showing the tattoo,
That's it.
it would be you two. Because George is this person for me in Vegas, and in New York, George is that person.
Let's meet him.
Let's
Nice.
meet him.
I need
Pull
to
him
see
up,
me.
baby. IMPY, let's go!
Woo! What's going on, fellas? Happy to be here. Happy to be here. Pumped. It's a lovely day. It's a lovely day in New York City. I'm sure it's much finer out in the desert by y'all. But yeah, everything's good. Can't complain.
Yeah,
George, I've done the most shows with him of anyone
wow.
like ever. Yeah.
And so when was the last time he was on? Was it like a Monday show that I
Well, it
missed?
was we did the props episode together.
Okay.
Super Bowl props, yeah.
Super Bowl props. So prior to that, maybe like a year and a half since I moved.
Damn.
Yeah, man. It's
Hold
been a
on.
minute. Yeah.
The wrong team was favored.
Let's go.
I'm sorry. I wanted to take a small little victory lap and a small little pat on my back. Whatever. I know you guys have covered the Super Bowl, but last time I was on, we talked about the props. And George, the first thing that I mentioned was, I think the wrong team is favored here. And yeah,
You were right.
Just a little. Yeah.
Did you cash?
We take those. We take
cash
those.
heavy on
Yeah,
it?
yeah. I cashed a few. The Purdy prop killed me because he took the knee before overtime.
Yep.
Which is something that I called out, by the way, to bettors. I said, depending on which side you like, be hesitant because you're gonna lose a yard or two on the kneel. I wound up the wrong side won in that situation, but I still lost the yards on the kneel. But anyway, cashed on the Chiefs money line, cashed on the Chiefs with the points, and then some of my props I lost by like literally a couple of yards. So around 50% during the Super Bowl. Not what I loved, but not something you love. But anyway, we move on to the rest of the sports calendar.
Yes.
You know how I joke around sometimes, and I'll be like, "Yo, that's a." He knows exactly what I was saying. IMPY's the creator of the 4 condom bets.
IMPY.
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah.
No, I've definitely heard his name in
Yeah,
past conversation when I
so-
bring up teasers.
Yeah. The MTs used to be a thing back in the day too, and he's the king of 12-leg parlays that pay -107. So he'll throw in like a -2,500 just to get it down. So
That's awesome.
we coined the
I've
thing. It's
grown.
like, yo, he bets with like multiple condoms during sex.
I mean, it's safe. I see no issue with it, IMPY. I'm trying to get Nick to, see this other side here. You do occasionally.
Yeah.
Just as much as you say, oh,
Hey, one of my
condoms
favorite
released.
bets at the Super Bowl was -350. It was going to be a touchback, the opening kickoff, and it was. You know what I mean?
Easy.
Like every now and then you got to be extra safe. But me, it's usually raw like Monday nights, baby.
Is how many points it is under. Is that how many condoms it is? So -350, 3 condoms.
Nah, it's usually like if you have like a 8-legger and it goes, the 8-leg parlay pays like +102. That's multiple.
Come on. I was killing FanDuel when FanDuel would give those profit boosts, right? I don't know if you realize. I don't know if you guys noticed this, and I'm not sure if you guys are betting on FanDuel, but they used to give out profit boosts left and right, 25% profit boost, 50s, 40s, whatever the case may be. And then out of nowhere, they changed it where now it had to be plus 400 or greater, because I was killing them on like 4-leg plus 120 parlays, and I would just like build my bankroll that way.
Yep.
And then out of nowhere, they just randomly said, "Up now, you need a minimum odds of plus 400 or longer." So I want to just take credit for FanDuel changing all of their profit boosts and things of that nature because of me, because I was absolutely destroying them on those. But I digress.
FanDuel Hall of Fame. It sounds like that's where you're headed, dude.
No, but I can't front, man. And we'll get into the NBA stuff, some futures to make right now for the rest of the year. I would troll him in the beginning and be like, bro, enough with these like Luka alternative points, 9.5. And like he'd send these crazy bets, and then I would make fun of them, and every single one of them would hit.
And you're just stuck, right?
And I wouldn't bet him, and then I'm blowing away my bankroll, and he was building his. So shout out to Impy, man. It's always good to have you on. We used to thrive when we were doing this show together with the NBA stuff. We used to call each other the best backcourt in podcasting. We're back here. We got a lot of fun nicknames, bro. We've been doing this.
It sounds like it.
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah. Okay, so what I want to do now is I gave you guys a list of sort of topics to hit on, and it's bets to make right now for the rest of the year. It could be whatever it is you want it to be. To win the title, to win a division, MVP, coach, whatever it is. George, you know what? I'm going to throw it to you first. Lead us off. Where do you want to start?
I said it at the beginning of the year with Donovan Mitchell as my MVP candidate. And although he's teetering on the game limit line, like he's really, you have to monitor him heavily to see if he's going to make the 65 games. But right now, he's at plus 15,000. So 150 to 1. I think Donovan Mitchell is a good player, and then he's a great player when it comes to March all the way through the playoffs. Like he's a big time gamer, and he's got Cleveland on the right track right now. And if Cleveland ends up going on a 10, 12 game win streak here to end out the year, it's not the realm of possibilities with that team. I think it's a long shot bet, but I would say right now is a good time to take it. I mean, we saw it in the NFL season. Like right now, putting in the futures is where you're going to find the most value on your long shots.
Yeah, the only pushback I have on that, and it's a common theme with all these NBA, not coach, but any awards. There's some places that you could bet if a dude's going to make all NBA.
Mm-hmm.
Also, those are pretty interesting too. It's weird because they're voted on. And I know MVP is voted on too, but I think with all NBA, it's a weird market. Some places don't offer it. Like in New York, you can't bet on awards. You have to literally drive to Jersey.
Right.
The Super Bowl MVP, any MVP of any kind. So I think it's important to monitor how many games guys have missed, because that number is very important, because like Embiid is completely out of it.
100%.
Right? Like any of the other guys that are kind of teetering on that, hey, they've already missed 10 games, and just be careful is all I'm saying.
For sure.
My MVP, I've already bet him at the beginning of the year because, I mean, it's my favorite pastime over the last 4 seasons, Jason Tatum to win MVP, and I'm just punting my money every single year. He'll get to be the favorite at some point and then completely just teeters in the wrong direction. But, dude, the way I'm looking at it, man, Jason Tatum for MVP, now you could get him at 25 to 1. They're the number 1 seed.
Yep.
Historically.
Comfortably, too.
Yeah. They have a sizable lead. They're about 6.5 games, 6 games over your Donovan Mitchell-led Cleveland Cavaliers.
Yep.
So they're 43-12 at the time that we're recording this. And the thing with Jason Tatum is, obviously, he's the best player on the team. He's having a really, really good season. But they're so far ahead. Team success is a big part of this, too. Outside of the 1 year, and sorry if you've heard me say this before, but outside of the 1 year when Russ won it with the triple doubles, you need to be a top 4 seed historically to get this. And with Tatum, they're the 1 seed. They're going to finish as the 1 seed by a fair margin. He's the best player on that
Yeah.
team. He was the 4th favorite coming into the year. And look, Imp, we've talked about this, bro, shopping for lines. Some places 25-1, other places 12-1. Obviously, you're going to make the bet at the 25-1.
Correct.
I think right now you're betting on a guy who is nowhere near the missed games limit. So you don't even need to worry about that. They're on the best team. He's the best player. And I think he's going to be in that conversation, man, to close it out.
Yeah.
I
like it. I like it. Should I go MVP? Because
yeah, go with MVP since we just did MVP. And feel free to push back too, bro.
No. My coach of the year play has a lot of synergy with your MVP play, but we'll talk about that in a little bit. Look, for me, if he can hit the game minimum, it's Luka Doncic at 10-1. If the Mavs can catch the 3 or the 4 seed, I think he has a chance. Why not a little sprinkle at 10-1? I see as the best number at the moment. Dallas 6-game winning streak since the addition of Gafford and PJ Washington. If they can keep the winning up, if some of the teams ahead of them maybe take a slight tumble, I can see them not easily, but I can see them creeping up into maybe that 3 or 4 seed range potentially. And Luka's going to put the numbers up. I think it's just a matter of, can they have the team success to get him there with these new additions? I definitely think it's possible. And then will he reach that games threshold? But I think both of those are correlated. I think if Luka plays, most, if not all of these games in the back half of the season, they will be successful as a team. Therefore, making it more likely that he is a dog in the fight. So 10-1 for arguably a top 3 player in the NBA on a team, making its push towards the top of the Western Conference, or at least kind of, getting out of the muck of the middle of the Western Conference and potentially kind of ascending. I think there's some value there. So I think I like Luka 10-1, MVP, a little sprinkle.
Yo, you got to make that bet now before they play their next game. You know why? Because they're playing the Suns to come back. It's
tiebreaker game.
It's TNT. He goes crazy against Phoenix, so he could have like 50, 15, and like 8. Like he loves going up against Phoenix.
Yeah,
and then immediately it's national. It's a national televised game. I think another cool thing you could do if you really want to get nerdy with it and gain an advantage, it's the thing we talked about, NFL MVP. From now on, moving forward, come week 14, week 15, if we have 5 guys that potentially can win MVP, we got to see how many of them are playing primetime games that are winnable, because that's what I think Lamar Jackson ended up winning the MVP. Why?
Right.
Because it was the Monday night game against the Niners, and then it wasn't primetime, but it was like the game of the week against Miami, and he had back-to-back monster games, and then that was it. He was the MVP. So I think if you could get an idea of, how many primetime games is Luka and the Mavs going to play?
Yeah.
Maybe take that now. But I think you got to make that bet immediately, man. This is going to be the first clip that we put out tomorrow, because we got to capitalize on him going out there dropping a 40-piece on Booker and the Suns.
Yeah.
And I think it's a good call to make right now. And Imp, you know what's crazy, man, about Luka and Tatum? It feels like they both should have had one by now. Don't you think?
Mm-hmm.
Tatum's had a lot of team success, so I hear you on that. I don't know. They're both like relatively young-ish, right? Like still, you would say they haven't hit their peak, or they haven't hit their, the primes of their career yet. So while I agree with you that it's definitely possible, Tatum, I think more so than Luka, I still think there's plenty of time. So.
Luka's a trade away. I just feel like this is not his final home. And I think once
Are you inspired by the Jokic? The Jokic
100%.
comments?
Yeah, 100%.
But he said, I'm not leaving Denver. He got to come here.
I mean,
which, by the way, tampering, no?
It is what it is. All right. They are going to eventually end up on the same team together. Yeah. And that's going to be a pretty tough duo to stop.
Hell yeah.
It's the European banana boat. Sorry to cut you off. The European banana boat. Whatever that iteration would be. This is that.
Probably like horseback riding together.
Oh,
Jokic.
They're on the chariot.
Yeah,
They'd be on the back.
yeah, exactly. Yeah.
That's great.
So you don't think it's his final home?
I don't think it is final. I don't think it is, but I think I like Jason Tatum's odds way better than I like Luka's odds right now. And for all the things that you pointed out, for him to be at 25, it shocks me more than just about any other player that I saw on the list. But I would imagine that the NBA futures market, and I haven't studied it too much, but fluctuates like crazy, right? So it's not saying that the odds won't eventually be there. Like, I would have loved to hear Luka at like the same as Jason Tatum at 25-1. But I guess you just kind of got to wait till they play bad, right? And then how long are they? How long do you wait it out?
Well, that's why
is the question.
Well, that's why I was saying if you like the Luka call, you got to make that bet before they play on Thursday. Because if he does come out and he goes crazy, he has a 50-point game,
right?
And they win by like 20. It's the TNT Thursday night game. It's the first marquee game back. And look, you got to remember, the players do everything in their power to tell us that they don't care about the regular season. But there are a couple games where you're like, bro, that Warriors and Suns game on like a Friday or Saturday a couple weeks ago, like that was dope.
Yep.
When it ended with like the Curry shot.
Yep.
Like that was cool because everyone was fully healthy, everyone was playing, and it had like a playoff atmosphere to it. And now with this one, you know about the animosity between them.
Right.
Like they've had the playoff series against one another where they blew them out at home in a game 7. Like shit like that is why I think you got to make this bet now because he always gets up for this game. So like, yo, we're off the All-Star break. We're chilling. I was messing around a lot in the All-Star break. Luka was.
Right.
Let's get right. Let's start off right away. And I like that one, man. And to your point, Tatum 25, Luka 24. So they haven't really hit their prime yet, which is nuts.
I think the general consensus is 27, 28 is when you quote unquote reach your prime.
Yeah.
So they're still kind of, far ahead of schedule. I mean, they've been ahead of schedule. Let's not get it twisted. But, just in terms of, snagging an MVP award. And then look, real quick, I have a chalk play. It's SGA plus 210 right now. I think voter fatigue is real. I think if you look at the history, no one has won it like 3 years within like the last 5. Like no one's won it like 3 times within a 4-year period or 3 times within a 5-year period. I think that voter fatigue is real. I think when you're averaging over 30 a game on a team that's overachieving, that you are going, and obviously the odds dictate that with him being plus 210 and essentially second right here. I just think that he's impressed a lot of people. I think the supporting cast in Denver, you make the argument that the SGA supporting cast is inferior to Jokic's. And so I think, there's talent on OKC, don't get me wrong, but it's really young talent. And I think with what SGA is doing, is truly remarkable. Everyone said so many great things about it, but I just think, if you're gonna bet on one of the favorites, I would lean SGA just simply because I don't think the supporting cast is as strong. The team somewhat came out of nowhere, out of nowhere, but the expectations of them potentially winning the West, that was just not the case earlier in the season, at least for most people. So, voter fatigue's a real thing. All of these kind of points I'd have at home before. If you are looking chalk-ish, one of the top 3 guys, I think SGA is that guy to lean on if that's what you want to do.
Put me on to chalk. Chalk?
It's like the obvious. It's like the favorite. Yeah, it's basically that.
Chalk.
I'm shaking my head, bro, because when I did the NBA preview show, I was all in on the Thunder. Jeremiah, my boss, and we have a ticket over at Circa. Imp, you would love the markets out here, bro, because they have a lot of funky bets that he'll like find randomly. He'll be like, yo, bro, both teams to have a rushing and throwing touchdown only in the third quarter, plus 200. You're like, what? What the hell? Not plus 200, but
right.
he'll find markets like that. So we have a ticket, the Thunder to be a top 3 seed at plus 450.
Fire.
And on the preview show, I said their win total at 42.5 was my favorite. SGA dark horse 18-1 to win MVP. And now he's the second favorite. I agree with him about voter fatigue.
Mhm.
Jokic has won it. Jokic should have won it last year too. I think he didn't win it last year because he had won it
Because
the
of
years
Right.
years prior and voter fatigue. And I was just shaking my head, bro, because I agree with you, but I'm just salty that I didn't pull the trigger on that.
Yeah.
That upsets me because I was on there. And that's why I like betting futures, dude. It's my favorite. Because imagine if I did have an 18-1 right now.
Yeah.
Oh, it's like with the Puka thing. Remember, we bet Puka at 30-1 for offensive rookie of the year. After week 18, he's plus 300. I'm like, yeah, I'd much rather have the 30-1. And then the Travis Kelce thing in the Super Bowl had 60-1, 85-1. A lot of people had in the Discord and sending DMs about it. And then comes Super Bowl. Sure, it's the most heavily wagered guy to win the MVP. But we're also holding 85 and 60-1 as opposed to 12 and 10-1.
Oh, it makes a hell of a difference.
Oh,
I mean,
yeah.
Fuck,
man, I'm so pissed.
When I brought up Donovan Mitchell at the beginning, I had said that in the pregame show or the preseason show, and the odds really haven't moved much. I think it was maybe 20 or 200-1 at that moment in time before the season. Now he's at 150. I need to play it. I don't play these futures. I talk about them and I'm like upset at myself just like you. But now's the time, right, Imp? Like I got to stop like effing around.
It's because you don't get paid out for months. I feel you, and I think that's I think a lot of people share the same point of view, or they're hesitant for those reasons where it's like, damn, I'm gonna bet $50, $100, whatever your number is, right? Whatever your unit size is, or even if you're scaling back, it's like, damn, I'm putting this money up and I'm not seeing a return potentially until the end of the season. So I can completely understand why a bettor like yourself would maybe shy away from some of these things. I think it's just because there isn't that instant gratification, there isn't that instant payout. So I'm with you on that, and I share some of those issues as well.
I mean, yeah, that's exactly it. That's the breakdown. People don't want to hear, hey man, give us $100 and it's October. If you're betting an NBA MVP, hey, you might get paid out Memorial Day weekend. Yeah. People don't want that.
Right.
I love it though. That's my shit. I think of my bankroll, the majority of like my big bets are always futures. 300, 400, 500. I've had $1,000 future before. Yeah, this was like when I was like a psychopath.
Andrew Luck MVP?
Andrew Luck MVP every year, baby. 300. 0 for 8. But hey, we keep firing, yo. We keep firing. But yo, you know what? The pushback that I give to people sometimes is, hey man, you play fantasy football, right?
True.
Most leagues, our league, famously, Impy and I were in the same league for like a decade plus. It was no money, no team, no tight ends. That was our motto because we played with no tight ends. We played with 2 flex positions.
Smart.
The best. Absolute best. But it was like,
and this was years ago too. To be fair, to give Nick credit, this was a really long time ago.
This was like 2014. Visionary, bro.
Kind of ahead of his time.
I saw where the game was going. Yeah, I saw where the game was going. But yo, like on a serious note, it's the same thing with fantasy football.
Yep.
Most fantasy leagues, you take the money up front, everyone has paid, and then you get paid out Christmas, New Year, around there. So I always, just to push back and troll people a little bit, but I totally understand, man. I totally understand. If you don't want to, if you're a $10, $25 bettor, you don't want to put your money off,
I would say,
for that long.
Yeah. Well, mid-season makes the most sense too. Like, I think you get an accurate representation of who has an honest case.
Yeah, well,
for those awards.
That's a good point too, man. And I've thought about that also. Having Kenny on the show, and he's a professional bettor. Shouts to Kenny Bets Big. He told me, he's like, yo, I don't really like betting preseason futures. I like waiting until October because at least you have a 4 or 5 game sample size in the NFL, and you understand, yo, this team is way worse than I thought. Oh shit, this team is way better than I thought. Are you gonna miss the ball on some of them? Sure, but it's better to know that, oh man, it's the same old Chargers, right? As opposed to punting your money in the preseason.
Facts.
All right. I want to move over to another one. And I feel like this one's gonna get Imp a little excited just because no one that I know loves the New York Knicks more than him.
Oh, God.
What do you think of Thibodeau, Coach of the Year? 2 weeks ago was as high as 100-1. Now he's 25-1. the Knicks are currently the 4 seed, only 2.5 back, 1.5 back of Milwaukee, 3.5 back of Cleveland. So they're still, they're not catching Boston. They're 10 back of Boston, but they could sneak into that top 3.
Yep.
They're kind of, I don't want to say the talk of the town, because the Knicks, even when they would win 12 games a year, was still like, Knicks get clicks. That was like a hashtag and a thing that people would talk about on NBA Twitter and just social media. But, getting OG coming in, obviously we know about Brunson. This team is actually good.
Mm-hmm.
They're getting a lot of people's hopes up.
They're really good.
They're really good. But
Thank you.
Thibodeau at 25-1, I think kind of jumps out to me, man. You get.
Let me just say this. Sorry to cut you off.
Of course.
I think what could help him win the award can also dramatically impact him, and it's for him to not win the award. And it's the injuries. It's the OG injury. You don't know when he's going to come back at this point. He had the surgery. Mitchell Robinson potentially is coming back sooner rather than later. They don't know if Randall needs surgery or not. He may need to push that off. I think that if the Knicks can somehow get the 2 seed with all of these injuries, I think it plays to him winning that Coach of the Year award, because he did it with Taj Gibson getting minutes and trade deadline acquisitions and things of that nature. So if they were healthy, like, I can totally see him winning this award. And also because of the injuries, if they punch above their grade and they do somehow maybe snag a 2 seed, I can also see them winning that award, him winning that award, because them getting to that 2 seed despite the injuries. So I really love it. I'm just so very worried about these injuries, man. I don't know.
It's one of the ones that you want to put in right now. I just looked at their upcoming slate. They get the Sixers and they get the Celtics back to back. And then later on, or early in March, they get to play the Cavaliers. So you get like these marquee games that will drive the number. So you said he's at 25?
Mm.
I just hate it. I hate it, honestly, because I don't think that they have the spotlight on Thibodeau as much as it needs to be to win that type of award. Like, I mean, we've heard more about Doc Rivers than any other coach in the last
and
month.
also like, you got Mark Degnault. I might have butchered his last name. Well, like with the Thunder.
I think you did well.
I think I did well. Let's go, baby.
I think you did well.
Let's go. I crushed that shit. You heard? But dude, they've overachieved, right? Chris Finch in Minnesota. These are teams that no one thought. At least the Knicks were a top 5 seed last year.
Correct.
Right? Where these teams were not. And now they're the 1 and 2 seed. That is also something.
And Tibbs won it. And Tibbs won it a couple of years ago during the COVID season when no one thought they would make the playoffs, and they wound up, I think, being the 4th seed that year. So while, obviously my heart is saying, like, absolutely, I think he can win the award, I think due to the fact that he just recently won it with a team that was much worse than this one, that team, Reggie Bullock, Elfrid Payton was the point guard. That was the first real big Julius Randle season. The more I think about it, I'm with George here, and I actually do hate it. For the reasons that I hate. What about Joe Mazzulla 21-1? Like, why the award doesn't always go to the coach who turns the team around. Sometimes the award just goes to the coach who's leading the charge of the best team. And if this team could win over 60 games, maybe touch near 65 games or something crazy like that, 62, 65 games, I just think there's some value in Mazzulla here, who I think finished 3rd in Coach of the Year last year. Everyone's roasting him. Everyone's toasting him in the offseason. They're calling him second row Joe. He doesn't know what he's doing. That team is stacked, don't get me wrong, but also they're being coached well, I think. So I just think there's value in a team that could win 60 games and the coach is 21-1. Call me crazy. I like that long shot pretty well.
I mean, it's the same concept with Jason Tatum, right? Like
that's why I mentioned it earlier.
Yeah. So I'm totally with you on that, man. I just think the pushback on him where it's not the same pushback on Tatum. It's that he didn't really turn this team around.
No,
And
he
you're
didn't.
right that sometimes it's just like, yo, the team that's having the best year. But I think it's going to be so hard for me. Like, gun to my head, if I had to make a bet, it would probably be either the Timberwolves or the Thunder, coach.
Mhm.
Because it's wild the leaps that they took. Like,
Right.
bro, people are thinking they can win the title.
For
It's
sure.
crazy. But that's how well they've had their team positioned. So I think for me, those are kind of the ones that, and also like everyone knows, but I don't do favorites. I don't do chalk.
Right. Yeah.
I don't do chalk.
No chalk over there.
Don't do chalk, baby.
Especially not up the nose.
No.
But I was about to say about Missoula, though, it's kind of like a cursed award because if the Celtics get embarrassed in the playoffs, he wins that award and then gets fired.
Yeah.
It just kind of has that like, oh my God, you kind of don't want to be coach of the year of a really good team that gets bounced.
Well, this is the problem
'Cause
with the
you're going to get
NBA.
fired.
This is the problem with the NBA.
Yeah.
We've been talking about this shit for years. It makes no sense that your season ends April 10th, let's just say, and you give out these awards Memorial Day weekend.
Mhm.
It's like, bro, then Embiid gets bounced in the second round. Jokic goes on and wins it, and you're like, oh my God, this is your MVP? All the memes come out. This your king? This your MVP? That's what happens, bro. And it's the same shit that happens in every sport. When it's either after the season or during the playoffs, and the guy that ends up winning it gets bounced in the first or second round or has an awful playoff game like Lamar did. That's where I hate that they do that. Push the playoffs back a week.
Right.
Have like a celebration of your league. Give out the awards there, and then bam, you're good. You're chilling.
Do you know if Dwayne Casey was fired before or after he won Coach of the Year that year with the Raptors?
I don't know, but there was
Number one seed.
There was a trend where like
fired.
every coach that won the award, like within the next like 18 months, got fired.
Dude, it's
there was
poison.
like there was like 4 of them
It's
in a row.
poison. Like, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Like you say Joe Mazzulla, I'm like, pray to God, no. Please.
Was it
no.
before? Is the answer before? Was the answer
I have
before?
no clue. That's
I'm gonna try to look it up now.
yeah.
Damn, that's a great trivia question.
Who do you got?
While you're looking that up, one player that's really been sticking out to me as I've been watching NBA is for 6th man of the year is Norman Powell at 8-1 right now. The Clippers are like a crazy buzzsaw. Like I don't think there's been a better duo in the league this year. Honestly, that's like when they turn it on, they're unstoppable. Paul George and Kawhi are nuts. And the fact that they get Russ's spark plug and Norman Powell just does not miss corner threes. Like he's like PJ Tucker times 10. This man is somebody that's going to get a lot of opportunities with the way that the defenses crash down in the middle on that team. He has the same shot at least 8 times a game, and he's going to hit some in a big moment, not to mention he plays defense. At 8-1 right now with a Clippers team that's second in the West. Why not toss some money on that?
I like it.
Do you think if one of those guys go down or get banged up and then he starts starting, that'll hurt him?
That's
that
very
hurt quickly
interesting.
last
Yeah.
year. Sorry, that hurt quickly last year. They used that to his disadvantage when they gave that award to Malcolm Brogdon, and he did not. I hate to say it, Malcolm Brogdon's a great player. I was pushing for the Knicks to trade for him at the trade deadline. Like I'm a fan of his, but he did not deserve that 6th man of the year award last year. That was Emmanuel Quickley's. I'll die on that hill. I feel like you, Nick, when you're talking about the James Harden MVP award that year. But I digress. Sorry to cut you off, George.
No, that kind of just hits the nail right on the head.
Yeah,
I
that was the
didn't
only
even
thing. That
think
was the
about
only
that.
thing that I thought about immediately because I agree with you. I think that line was mispriced. I think his impact has been great, but those guys, if one of them goes down or they rest them and then he's starting, how is that going to impact him? And I forgot about Quickly. Yeah, Quickly it's one of the few times where a lot of people disagreed with that award, and like the consensus was the other guy that didn't get it. That's what a lot of people were saying.
Yeah. He scored 40 on national TV against the Celtics, and
let's wrap with one more each. I want to do what I do every year around this time. As I just booked my trip to the 305 MP for my birthday, UFC 299.
Nice.
I'm gonna be in the building. Look, man, 15-1, the Heat to win the East. I don't like it. I love it because they're the only team that the regular season performance and the playoff performance, it's like you're watching two different teams. When it comes to playoff time, that Heat culture thing, Jimmy Butler automatically becomes a top 5 guy in the league when it comes to the playoffs.
Mhm.
And now you got to remember, last year they go to the finals. They don't have Tyler Hero. And then, or fully healthy Tyler Hero. Now you have him and you have like Triple J
Jaime Jaquez.
contributing to this team. And
See?
it's
Juan Wick. Juan Wick.
Juan Wick is good. That was good. And then you got Bam, and then you got also that, like, yo, they're the Bucks and Celtics like kryptonite too. You have that. Like, fuck,
They could
you know,
slow 'em
you don't
down.
think Josh Allen and the Bills now, every time they're gonna see the Chiefs in the playoffs, they're gonna be like, oh my God, not them again. And that's how I feel like some teams are with the Heat, man.
Yeah, they are. They are
15
the
to
kryptonite
1.
of the East.
It's a system play come February, March every year, baby. We got it for the brand.
Yeah, no, I was just about to hit you with an exacta
Oh,
that involves
yo, so he had Impy George had Lions to beat the Ravens.
Lions to beat the Ravens in the Super Bowl. And
100,
you saw what happened.
180 to 1, was it?
No, 190.
190 to 1.
Yeah. Yeah.
Zay Flowers.
Oh, dude, don't even get me started with that. He's a
I'm
me
sorry, bro.
guy. Me. Look at me. I got to score a touchdown on national. You don't need to, protect the ball. It's a lost art.
And then
It's a lost art.
And then Dan Campbell's just not knowing. I don't. But we don't have to. We don't have to. I
No.
I feel for you, brother.
Imp,
That's all I want to
you
say.
go
I
ahead
just- I
and
feel for you.
and tell me
give us your exacta. Your exacta that you had.
It's the Bucks over the Clippers.
Mm.
I have to find that exact line right now. That's why I was going to pass it to him.
So here's the thing: you could get that at 13 to 1 to just be the conference, to just be the finals matchup.
Yeah, but I'm looking at defeat.
You want okay.
Bucks to defeat the Clippers. I think Damian Lillard is in his element right now. Like, I think for the first time in a long time, he's the new kid at school and he's winning over a city, and Giannis doesn't have to carry necessarily as much as he's had to in the past, which I think is a huge factor in the whole Heat dilemma. Even the Celtics are going to have to, attack the Heat now differently, that they have Kristaps. And so these new additions have been made to get past the Heat. I just think Dame is the best of all those additions, and I think he has yet to turn it up to like 11. But I think once we see him turn it up to 11, I think the Bucks are going to embarrass people in the playoffs.
I have that right here in front of me. Bucks to beat the Clippers 21 to 1.
I like this.
Fire.
And
It's
give
not
us
not the best number, but
yeah,
I
bro.
mean, I'll take.
Listen, man, I'll tell you one right now. If you're into the chalk,
Yep.
right? Celtics Nuggets to be the to be the NBA Finals is plus 700. You're taking the defending champ, and you're taking the best team in the East right now. Like, it's not a bad thing to take the chalk. I personally don't like doing it,
Mhm.
but look, you could bet in the preseason. You could bet NBA Finals and just take the two favorites, and you could get like plus 1,200.
True.
That's not that's a good
I know.
number.
That's just, I'm sick.
Yeah.
Do you
Yeah.
see like how
Yeah. I
sick
mean, well-
I'm itching to make like a crazy
Yeah,
return.
people want 50 to 1 or more.
Yeah.
Like the amount of people that hit me up and they're like, yo, can I get a parlay for this weekend? Like UFC, I'll give you an example. Because one that I put out on Patreon was Marab, Taporia, and Fluffy Hernandez. All money line.
Mhm.
Plus 250. Nah, that ain't good. Well, you wanted a parlay. Yeah, but I wanted a good one. That is a good one. I think it's gonna hit. Nah, I want like crazy
Whoa,
shit.
whoa.
I want to pay my rent. I'm like, okay, so bet more on it then. I don't know what you want me to tell you.
Who
If
is
you want
this?
$25 to win 5K, it's a hard bet to make and win. Bro.
That's a lotto ticket. Those are called lotto tickets.
Yeah, those are hard. So you need to understand when you're doing parlays. And Ben Fox, who we had on the show together, he put out this great article. I'm gonna retweet it and post it about the amount of money that New Jersey and New York, the tri-state area, made off parlays during the football season.
Mhm.
It's like 85% of the total income the sports books made.
Jesus Christ.
85%. So they want you to do these lotto tickets, like Impy said.
Yep.
And it all depends. Like, we make fun of Impy about the 4 condom parlay plays, but most of them he hits on them.
It's true.
But they're minus, they're plus 180.
Correct.
People don't want that. People don't want that.
Here's the thing. It's kind of goes to the point of it being a good bet, and you just realizing that there's so many things that can go wrong from here to then. To only get 21-1 is like, come on, bro. Like, life is crazy.
Yeah.
And that number just isn't, it's something that's appealing. But anyways, I digress. Imp, what you got?
All right. I have a matchup prop: Celtics, Timberwolves, 18-1. And I also like the Timberwolves to win the West, plus 850. I think if matchups swing their way, I think that Minnesota can beat OKC. They have too much size for OKC. And I think they can beat the Clippers. And the Clippers have a lot of great wings. I'm not going to take anything away from them. Obviously, the Harden addition's been great, but Minnesota has some really great wings as well. McDaniels, Ant-Man, like the list goes on. Naz Reid is really versatile. So, obviously they would be a dog against Denver. I'm not saying that they'd be a favorite in any way, shape, or form, but I just think that there's value in a team who started extremely hot, cooled off a bit, picking back up again. Been very close to the best team in the West the entire season, or very close to it. Again, I just think that team is being there's value there. I think what Gobert has done this year has been remarkable. It just in relation to what he looked like last year, I think it's night and day. Edwards has obviously taken a step up. And I'm just a fan of this Timberwolves team, especially at the plus 850 number, depending on the matchup. And yeah, so those are my two kind of futures, from a matchups perspective, and then just for a team to win the West, plus 850 Timberwolves, and then 18-1 Celtics Timberwolves as well. You don't have to take both, obviously. I'd probably only play one or the other, because if obviously they don't get out of the West, then you lose both bets. But it's just a creative way to find some nice value.
The best part about that whole breakdown, he mentioned the path.
Mm-hmm.
So important, bro. To use a wrestling term, fantasy booking, you have to try to envision the path for each team. Right. So like last year, I had a 40-1 on the Lakers to win the title. And the breakdown was they're going to avoid Denver until the conference finals,
mm-hmm.
and then try to hedge. I didn't hedge. They got swept, right? That happens. But when the playoffs started, they were 12-1. So maybe Minnesota now at plus 850 that he said, their path might be so effortless that they're going to avoid everyone good, and then they're in the conference finals. And then from there, you can hedge out. Right. They'll be the 1 seed. They'll have home court. They're probably going to have a plus number on the team in the return.
Mm-hmm.
So I think the path is exactly it, man. That was one of the reasons why I had Miami a couple of years ago when the bubble year. And I know the bubble year was weird, but they avoided they avoided the Celtics until the conference finals.
Right.
So the path is very, very important. Just always got to remember follow the path to the promised land.
Yes.
Let's go. Let's end it.
Yeah?
Yeah. NBA futures.
I feel like I've been looking into a mirror watching you, dude. We are alike.
Let's go.
We're going to keep doing it. Let's go.
Let's get it, man.
Next time he's on, I want to wear a tank top too. You want to wear a tank top?
We'll just all have different fits.
We'll just
Yeah.
All tank tops. That's going to be the move.
The heat's on them hot.
Let's go. Hey, Ev, let the people know where they can find you, bro.
Anthony E. Impastato, and all social media platforms.
George?
At Mr. George Carmona, all social media platforms. Nick?
At Nick Dayas 10 on all social media platforms. At Veterans Minimum, all things Veterans Minimum. Patreon.com/Veterans Minimum. You still have a chance to join the Super Bowl helmet giveaway until March 1st. Then we'll be doing the drawing, and we'll catch you guys next time.
In his element, I'm a gold medalist, bronze like your medal is. So many deer in headlights, but it's bedtime. Hear that supper bell, main course, be the venison.
Dab.
most dangerous game. Either kill or be killed.